You have turned into Remote Control's latest episode. Listen in as the GCRN crew talks TV from 2000 to now, with pilot and season premiere episodes, finishing finales, and season passes as well. Now get ready to change the channel with your Remote Control as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of television. All from the Geekcast Radio Network. We are all remote controlled.
Grab that remote control because this is the GCRN's brand new TV podcast. We are calling it Remote Control. I am your host, Steve J. Mike, and joining me once again this week is Doug Abel. Hello.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
All right. Remote Control will be about the current TV generation in the third pilot premiere episode. We're going to be taking a look at another show from CBS entitled Stalker. Dun dun dun. So we are going to head to a quick news break. We'll be back with stage dressing after this.
Hey there, channel surfers. You're listening to the Remote Control News.
Yes, you are. And I found out from last episode in the Scorpion editing process for the Scorpion episode last week that me closing the intro or transitioning to the news and then me coming in and starting the news sounded like crap. So, yes, I am here with Steve and we're going to be talking about some news. Huge thanks to the wonderful Kate over at thetelevision.com for her caffeine column. This is news for Sunday, October 12th, 2014. We've got our first full season pickups of the fall, but first a few premiere dates. November 15th, Atlantis. December 7th, The Librarians. January 16th, 12 Monkeys. Wow. February 8th, The Walking Dead mid-season premiere. That's funny. The fourth season premiere just happened. And March 5th, Dig. Twin Peaks is returning. A new limited series from David Lynch and Mark Frost will air on Showtime in 2016. Picked up for full seasons How to Get Away with Murder and Blackish. Renewed Awkward for a fifth and final season. The Game for a ninth and final season. Transparent, Survivor's Remorse, Black Sails, Under the Dome, Extant, The Walking Dead, The Increasingly Poor Decisions of Todd Margaret, Cancelled, Unforgettable, and Reckless. Now, Unforgettable is a show on CBS. It stars Poppy Montgomery. I remember watching parts of the first season. I've been wanting to watch it since then. At first, after the first season, Optimus Soul and I thought it was going to be canceled immediately, but CBS brought it back, and now they're canceling it again. The Mysteries of Laura and Constantine have had additional scripts ordered. That's interesting. So the news topics we are going to talk about this time around include Uncle Buck's series, John Hughes and John Candy families displeased. Neither the writer-director of the 1989 comedy feature Uncle Buck, John Hughes, nor its star, John Candy, are still with us. But speaking for their loved ones, the families of Hughes and Candy have voiced their disapproval over a planned Uncle Buck TV series in a statement to Deadline. The multi-camera project from Universal TV, whose feature sibling produced the title hit movie, was recently set up at ABC. The families object to the idea of remaking the movie, noting that Hughes opposed the previous sitcom remake by CBS, which only ran for one season, and would have likely not been supportive of the last redo attempt. So, you know how you and I are always complaining about Hollywood needs to get new ideas?
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I know people over on the Altered Geek posts for this past Friday have said, oh, well, it's not Hollywood, but it is. It really, really is Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood at large, producers, directors, networks, so it's probably more specifically network executives than it is, you know, the actual producer-director people. No. I'm glad that the families are speaking out about this and are saying that they're displeased with this. There's no way in hell an Uncle Buck television series would work today.
Well,
There's just...
it's kind of like a lot of the stuff from the 80s. Like, if they were to redo Back to the Future, they should be pummeled in the face. And I was watching a video earlier, and this goes into a lot of the same ground of rehashing 80s stuff, like how they're talking about Ghostbusters getting an entirely female cast and being written by the people that did like The Heat or whatever. But anyways, they were saying that, like that in that instance, doing a reboot kind of makes sense because all the guys are, off in their own little land or whatever and don't really care anymore and or have passed away, sadly. But like in this instance, and you're going to see that trend coming a lot more lately. I noticed a lot of it when I was browsing Twitter earlier that there's attempts to bring more films to TV, unfortunately. Like Resident Evil and what's that one with Rush Hour?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to come to TV, and I think that Uncle Buck is one of them. It sadly would not work without John Candy. Now, if he were still with us and in
good health,
and wanted to do it, that would be one thing. But I don't think that, honestly, there's anybody that could fill the void of Hughes and Candy here.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. The only interesting thing about this is if they recast, and I don't mean recast as in get somebody different, but if they cast again Jean Louisa Kelly, the original Tina, that's the only way that it would be remotely interesting for me. But yes, no, I agree. There's no.
I think a lot of this stuff needs to be left in the past. I know we're nostalgia freaks and everything nowadays, but honestly, I think that it lived best in our memories, and I think that it needs to be left there. I think that they need to come up with something new, which it does seem that they are doing more and more on television now. But the fact that they keep having to fall in this crutch because they're like, oh, well, this is popular back then, I think it'll do well now. Whereas a lot of the stuff is kind of hit or miss that's on TV now, unless it's, superhero or comic based.
The next story actually ties into something that is very near and dear to my heart, along with this podcast. Exclusive from TVGuide.com. Peter Fonda to guest star on NBC's The Blacklist. Get your motor running iconoclastic actor Peter Fonda has signed on to guest star on an upcoming episode of NBC's The Blacklist. Fonda will play Jeff Perrell, a CEO and philanthropist who funds millions of dollars for animal rights groups. Producers are mum on the character beyond that, but hint that he is not on Red Reddington's list. The episode will air Monday, October 27th at 10/9 Central.
Where's your daddy?
Fonda is the latest in a string of high-profile guest stars on The Blacklist, including Paul Reubens, Mary Louise Parker, and Kristen Ritter. Anytime The Blacklist brings in cast members, I'm always interested to see who they, bring in.
Well, and they're never throwaways. I mean, they are. Sometimes they are, but they're tasteful throwaways. Meaning that they'll be around a few episodes before you see the end of them.
Yeah, absolutely. This last story here, I just found interesting because
I'm
a huge,
you're a super fan
of the second show, not the originating show. I am a super fan of the Joss Whedon show Angel. And anytime Charisma Carpenter, a.k.a. Cordelia Chase, is in the news, I absolutely love it. She has landed a guest starring role on Sons of Anarchy. Now, Sons of Anarchy is an interesting show. I have yet to crack that can of worms to watch it. I know I should. I want to. And eventually we will cover Sons of Anarchy here on Remote Control. But she is going to be landing a guest starring role. She'll play Carol, a conservative administrative director at a medical facility. Further details on her role are being kept under wraps. The actress, whose credits also include The Lion Game Greek Veronica Mars and Surviving Evil, will appear in an episode slated to air in this season. Sons of Anarchy airs Tuesdays, 10 p.m. on FX. She was in the first two Expendable movies as Lee Christmas's girlfriend, so there's that. Absolutely love her. You know, I'm not just going to watch Sons of Anarchy because she is an upcoming guest star. I am going to go back from season 1 and watch from the beginning because I am interested in that show. It's just a lot of TV, folks, I don't catch up on when it's airing. I prefer to come back. That's why I love my DVR. Right now, as we're recording this, I have probably 5 shows on my DVR that I need to watch. Usually on Monday nights when we do podcasts and stuff like that, I've got my DVR all fired up, ready to go to record every single thing that I need to record, and then 4 a.m. Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, I'll watch it when there's nothing on TV at 4 a.m. So, have you ever seen an episode of Sons of Anarchy, or is that something that interests you, or no?
Well, not only do I not get the channel,
okay,
but it's not something that registers on my radar.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's out. God damn it! I have to edit this. I think that's it for news. We will get to our feature after this.
Over 6 million people are stalked each year in the United States. 1 in 6 women, 1 in 19 men. Stalking is the unwanted or obsessive attention from one person to another. It's driven by rejection, jealousy, revenge.
All right. Here, take you back. All right, I'm gonna get you early, okay?
Okay, how early?
Stalking can be the result of a relationship gone wrong, or delusional fixations that are pushed to extremes. Anyone can be a stalker. Ex-boyfriend, spouse, stranger. Anyone can be a victim. And it's on the rise. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Tinder, whatever app is hot today, we have too much access to one another. Social media is the #1 reason stalking cases have tripled in the last decade. That's where I come in. I run TAU, the Threat Assessment Unit of the LAPD. We are responsible for all stalking cases and threats to individuals, as well as politicians and city employees. It is our job to assess the level of threat in any situation and respond accordingly. Have I lost you? I'm seeing eyes glaze over. How about this? Any questions for me?
Did you handle the Selena Gomez stalker?
I heard David Letterman had a stalker for over a decade. Some lady who kept breaking into his house.
No, I didn't. And yes, he did. But celebrity stalking makes up only 10% of all stalking cases. Most victims are like you and me.
All right, folks, that's the news, and now we get to the stage dressing for Stalker, debuted this year, 2014, on CBS. It is a 1-hour drama, I guess you could say. So far, it's supposed to have 1 season. I don't know how many episodes are off the top of my head, but the basic premise for Stalker is LAPD's Threat Assessment Unit Lieutenant Beth Davis and Detective Jack Larsen search for a stalker with an affinity for fire. Also, Beth meets with an exasperated college student who claims his former roommate is aggressively harassing him. So, I assume when I told you about the show is the first you'd heard about it.
For this, yes, and then shortly after, when we were watching the Big Bang Theory premiere, we saw commercials for it, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, this looks kind of interesting. That's what I'm going to say about it right now. And yeah.
Yeah, it's, yeah. So let's jump onto the casting couch here. You've got Dylan McDermott and Maggie Q as the main stars. I mean, these two people have been... I mean, McDermott himself, he's been in a number of stuff. Most famously, the Practice. He was in Olympus Has Fallen.
He's done a lot, and I just, I'm drawing a blank other than The Practice for what he's done.
American Horror Story, Dark Blue. That was really, really a short series in 2009. Big Shots. Let's see. The Grid. No, it has nothing to do with Tron.
Would be better if it did.
Yeah. His first ever role, 1987, Hamburger Hill.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that.
Sergeant Adam France.
Yeah.
According to IMDb. And Maggie Q. Oh God, everybody remembers her from Live Free and Die Hard.
Yeah.
She's also in Nikita. She was in Mission Impossible 3. She was in Divergent this year. She was Chase Lynn in Need for Speed Undercover, which was a video game a few years back. She was in Deception, which is a show on NBC at one point. Honestly, outside of... oh, yeah, she was in Rush Hour 2. She was the girl in the car. Huh. Honestly, outside of Live Free or Die Hard and Need for Speed Undercover, I don't know her from much, but, I mean, Live Free or Die Hard was fairly, famous, so there is that. But I love her as an actress. You also have in this a lot of unknowns to me. Obviously, Elizabeth Rome is Amanda Tate. I remember her from, obviously, Law & Order, and as I said earlier, Angel. But the rest of the cast, just looking at their names, I would have to click on all their names to see what else they've done, but these are not names that I know a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, they seem... I don't want to say unknowns, because obviously they've been around for a while. Some of them have done other things, but it's nobody special, really. I mean, I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get hate for it, but Dylan McDermott, he seems to me like his best years were on The Practice.
Yeah.
Maggie Q, again, it seemed like her best role was to look like, a super hot, kick-ass villainess in Live Free or Die Hard. Yeah, she looked attractive, but just, it didn't do it for me. I'm sorry.
So we're gonna not jump the shark here. In this first episode, we see that obviously Beth and Jack meet. He gets transferred from New York. He has a past, and he doesn't make a very good first impression on her. But first of all, when the show first starts, we have the scene with this woman coming home, and I assumed she was calling her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like when she first, picked up the phone and says, "Troy, are you home? I'm pulling up." And I thought the guy, I thought it would have been her boyfriend or whatever else, and we don't really know too much about her. And then the stalker shows up, and let me go ahead and get this out of the way here. This is a Kevin Williamson show, people. Anyone who doesn't know who Kevin Williamson is, just go look at a Scream mask and you'll know. Because they actually they don't use the exact mask, but he uses, writers and whatever else, they use somewhat of a Scream-esque mask here.
Yeah.
With this stalker, so no one really knows who it is, and so we get this opening scene where he stalks her, he chases her back to her car, she, in cliched TV fashion, drops her keys, so the stalker has her keys. He douses her with gasoline before she gets in the car. He douses the car with gasoline and lights it on fire right as she is letting the emergency brake go to Roll down the hill. Several things with this pilot. The first scene. You mean to tell me none of the neighbors heard her screaming or heard the horn honking or heard the crash when she hit the telephone pole? Okay, later in the episode, the neighbor says that he was asleep and he had his phone on silent. I'm sorry. Anybody that makes as much noise as she did with the screaming and the car and everything, neighbors would have heard that. People would have been standing out,
Well, and what about the jogger that went running past her? Surely that jogger couldn't have gotten, a mile away and out of earshot of all this shit.
I know, exactly. So that's one problem I have with the pilot. And then so this scene happens. What did you think of this first scene, this opening attack?
It was a bit of a thriller, I'll say that, because that was what they were trying to entail. But the guy who was the mask. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. My first thought when I saw it was, "Oh shit, it's the human being from Community." The guy. I mean, that's my first thought was he's wearing a hoodie, but that's it. It's him. And I just kind of went, "This is supposed to be scary." Well, okay. I mean, yeah, and the whole gas bit. That and backing up and running away from him, trying to get away. The drama built there. I will give him that. That was good. To a point, okay? I mean, for what it was, for what they were trying to do, I got it.
Yeah, it was a good action scene. It was just, I don't believe that no one heard it.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically what I came to with it, but...
Yep. So, we then go to... we go to Dylan McDermott's character, Jack, who we don't know who he is just yet. We just know, hey, there's Dylan McDermott. And he's acting like a stalker himself.
Yeah.
Like, I thought they were going to set him up. Like, I obviously knew that they weren't, but when I first saw him in the scene, I'm like, okay, so they're going to set him up to be a stalker, and eventually Beth is going to have to, hunt him down and blah, 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 blah. But no, they pulled it the other way and made him, hey, I'm the new guy. And he's the new cop. And there's nothing I can think of that's worse than a stalker who is a police officer or in the police department somehow. I've seen other television shows that do this where...
Dexter.
Dexter. I was thinking more so like there was an episode of Law and Order where the crime tech guy was hunting various people down, but he worked in the crime lab at the SVU, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Again, Dexter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I know. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have anything against that show. I've never really watched it that much. So.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I thought they were going to go with McDermott, but they went the complete other opposite way, and he's the new recruit, but he is just digging himself a big old hole that he can be buried outside of the Hollywood sign, because he makes all these jokes about Scarlett Johansson and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I should say, I should have said this at the top of this part of the show, but the pilot opens with that scene, and then we go to, or it might be interplayed between each other, but there's a scene in the very beginning before we meet Dylan McDermott's character where Maggie Q is at a school or something doing some sort of lecture, and she says, because they bring it up, because it's LA, it's Hollywood, they have to bring it up, but what about celebrity stalkers? And she says only 10% of stalking is celebrity related. But I believe that statistic, but I don't think a lot of people would, because of the fact that that's the news. Like, we don't get, news reports on your next door neighbor or the girl across town. You don't get news reports like that in this day and age, because everybody wants to know what the hell celebrities are doing and blah, blah, blah.
Well, that, and then you really don't find focus on stalking until something drastic has happened, such as, oh, the kid, the guy killed his next door neighbor because he had a crush on her. And you don't find that out until afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. My next note was, man, this show is interesting but very scary, and I don't mean, Freddy jumps and and claws you to death kind of scary. I mean, holy hell, who is following me kind of scary? Because, seriously, this show really makes you think.
Oh yeah.
About your surroundings.
Yeah.
Because we have, as the show progresses, they go through the crime scene. At another girl's apartment, and they show that she sleeps with her body to the door so she can see who's coming and blah blah blah. We then skip to Beth at home. She does the same thing. So something is going on with Beth Davis. We know that they haven't outright said it, but she's either been stalked before or something has happened to her in her past. And I like that they didn't outright tell us right away in the pilot.
Well, especially with the way that she mentioned it, oh, this woman was stalking me. She went after me and my husband. She boiled my kid's rabbit, and he's like, yeah, Fatal Attraction. I saw that too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It was intertwined. It was very well done. And you kind of thought at first that she was going to be talking about this, and then nope.
Mm-hmm. No, well, I think in that end scene at the end of the pilot, she was kind of throwing the joke back in his face from what he was doing earlier. So
yeah.
Come to find out, during this whole pilot, we have the secondary storyline with these two college roommates or former roommates, Perry. What's his name? Perry Whitney or Whitey or I don't know, some Bulger kid.
Yeah.
And horrible joke. It's
Perry
a Whitey
Daniels.
Bulger.
Yeah.
Yes. You got Perry and you've got Eric, and Perry says that, oh no, Eric's just super weird, super creepy, blah, 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 where it's actually Perry who is super weird, super creepy. And he is essentially stalking Eric. And again, you have that standard trope of television and movies where the dean and the school don't want to make a big deal out of it because Perry's, from a affluent family and has money and are big contributors, like Dead Poet Society all over again, honestly. It's that kind of thing. And I think the most surprised as far as character out of this is honestly Beth Davis, because I was not expecting her to stalk the stalker.
No.
I was not expecting that. But that then turns on her at the end. Because the end of the show, we see him outside her house.
Yeah. And my wife, that was something my wife said. She's going, so what's going on with this? He's following her now because she was torturing him, and I'm like, hell, I don't know. That was my attitude with it.
I did like how everything with the story in this episode connected together. You have the first girl who dated this older guy and broke it off once she found out he was married, and and then we tie it around to Lori and Kate was the name of the first girl. You tie it around to the African American girl Lori and the whole parking garage scene, and where she actually fights back, which I thought that was really good that they showed that she fought back to get away from him. And it turns out that all of this is kind of going around where Larry could be the stalker. Oh, but wait, no, they all know the Pilates no, it's not Pilates. Spin instructor knows them all and everything else, and turns out to be Larry and the spin instructor together because they were both rebuffed by Kate and Lori.
Yeah, and that whole scene where we find out that he's got somebody else, that was fucking creepy. Oh, that sent chill. That was like, I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my god. Ugh.
And the video is probably what creeped me out.
Yeah.
Because in the video, it shows someone filming Larry next to Lori. And then at one point, the camera moves up and down vertically, like someone's nodding with the camera. It was like, oh, God. So creepy.
Yeah.
I like Stalker so far. I don't know. I don't know. What are your? Would you continue to watch this or no?
I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I will probably watch at least another episode or two before I make further judgment on it. But right now, my thoughts are: one, Maggie Q, put a little bit more clothes on, please. Yeah, you're hot, but your top at the beginning of the show needed another button. Okay, I'm sorry. As Dylan McDermott mentioned, I stared at your breasts too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of was doing the same thing, and it was really kind of distracting. I'm like, where's the story going to go besides staring at Maggie Q's boobs?
Yeah.
That was the one thing, and then just the whole stalking thing that he's doing is. I don't know. I'm not liking it so far. I will give it a little bit more of a chance before I really say no, I'm not going to watch it anymore, but I'm at that point almost already.
I'll give it another couple of episodes. So far for this pilot episode, because it just premiered this week, or well, it premiered a week ago as of this airing. So I'll give it a couple more episodes. I think what we may end up doing, ladies and gentlemen, is, if at all possible, at the end of the seasons. I know I've said before on the show we may or may not do finishing finales on all of these new series, but I think I may also do an episode where, if we didn't keep up with any of the new shows that we did pilot premieres for, we'll do an all encompassing episode. Like, okay, what shows did you keep up with? What shows didn't you keep up with? And we'll then talk about the ones you didn't keep up with.
There you go.
So I think that's how that's gonna work. How many remotes are you going to give this pilot?
Well, I'm probably going to give it I'm going to say 2.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Only because it did hold my interest. I do want to see a little bit more of the story, but at the same time, I'm like, it just really wasn't that interesting to me. I mean, it was too creepy, the bit where the guy, the spin instructor, pops out and grabs her, and goes to kidnap her, scared the crap out of me and my wife. Again, we're watching it all in the dark at 10 o'clock at night. Bad idea.
Yeah.
But we're both jumping. We're both going, oh shit, what the hell? Yeah. I don't know that I want to watch something like that again.
Yeah. Well, and you got to look at who this is coming from. This is created by the Scream guy. This is created by Kevin Williamson. So yes, I jumped up at that scene that you're talking about when he was under the rug. But like at this point, knowing who this show is created by, I can't help but expect moments like that now because of what he did with the Scream franchise. For me, I'm going to give it 2.5 remotes. There are certain things I like about it. There are certain things that worry me about it, and then the rest of it I'm just so unsure of.
Yeah.
It didn't blow me away. Like you said, Maggie Q is hot, but that hotness can only take you so far. I mean, this wasn't like what we had, a week ago when we talked about Scorpion. Yeah. Comparing this to Scorpion, oh god, I'd watch Scorpion again before I watch this.
Yeah.
If I had to choose between the two of them. But it just, I gotta see what is gonna be going on further, at least for a couple episodes, and if by the third episode it doesn't get me hooked and it creeps me out more than what it already has, I'll probably end up dropping this.
Yeah, I mean, part of the feel with this here that I got was I watched it, and all I could think was it's a lot like CSI, where they have 2 or 3 stories going in one episode, and you've got that feeling, and it just didn't hook. I'm like, I've seen this sort of style before, and I didn't care for it then. But who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe there will be a bunch of people that'll be like, I really like this show, and they'll keep up with it, keep it on the air. Not me.
Yeah, this is very true. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with Exiting Stage Left after this.
I'm Colin Baker.
My name's Fraser Hines.
Hi, I'm Daphne Ashbrook.
This is Andrew Cartmel.
Hi, this is Colin Spall.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisher-Becker.
This is Ian McNeice.
Hi, this is Travis Ritchie.
You listen to this Mark Who 42.
Listen to Mark Who 42's Universe.
If you're into Doctor Who, listen to Mark Who 42's Universe. We always have the latest Doctor Who news, reviews, and interviews. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Geekcast Radio Network, and our home base, MarkWho42.net.
Mark Who 42, the meaning of life.
Do you like retro shows? Did you grow up in either the 80s or the 90s? Then tune into Telecast, GeekCastRadio.com's newest podcast. Join us here on the Telecast as we revisit some of your favorite shows, such as Clarissa Explains It All, Salute Your Shorts, Saved by the Bell, and much, much more, only on GeekCastRadio.com.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Remote Control. Do you have anything you want to pimp out?
I'll just let people know that, again, on Talking About My Generation, that we're finishing up our baseball month, and we're going to have a Halloween episode. You can visit us over at mygenerationpodcast.com. Tell us what you like. Go from there.
Absolutely. So we hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Remote Control and hope you stop channel surfing to tune in to us next time around when we will be talking about CW's The Flash. I believe that's going to be Steve, myself, and Michael Powers on that one. I don't know just yet. And then after that, the week after that, the end of this month, we're going to be talking about, Doug is going to be back talking about Red Band Society from Fox. And then he'll also be back talking about ABC's Forever. And maybe, potentially, we'll be talking about Constantine. And then after that, the season passes will begin for Remote Control. So that's what's going on, going to be coming up. For now, I'm TFG and Mike with
Doug Abel.
Tune in next time when we will all be fighting over the remote control.
You've just listened to Remote Control. Thank you for tuning in to Remote Control. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com. You can email us feedback at geekcastradio.com.
Be sure to leave us feedback in iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at Geekcast Radio. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can call the voicemail line. Be sure to leave us your name and the show you're leaving it for. The number is 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Remote Control.